What's going on, guys? BladeZilla here, and today I've got an absolute stunner for you from Shirogorov and Sinkevich design, I guess you could say. This is the Shirogorov Fit Strip, F-I-T. That is not a typo, that is not a spelling mistake. They recently launched the Fat Strip, F-A-T, and today we've got a much thinner variant in the form of, I believe, 3.5mm blade. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a cold beverage, wine, beer, whatever time of the day it is. It's time to enjoy this absolute stunner of a knife. And I'm already going to preemptive this video by apologizing for the length. I love this knife, I can tell you that right now. I've loved the Fat Strip variant for a while, and now we're kind of changing the entire game once again on this one. As a reminder, guys, check out my website, BladeZilla.ca. That's me right there. That's the cutting board on the page. BladeZilla.ca just got in some new Astrams, some F95 Bear models. Really cool. Some CKFs, Microtechs, ProTechs, you name it. Lots of heat on there. But it's not about BladeZilla.ca. It is about the Shirogorov Fit Strip. So, I don't even know where to start today. I guess we're going to do some measurements with my little tape measure here, some weights, and then some comparisons and some thoughts. As you know, there's a lot of thoughts around this one. So let's start off there. So, very technical measurement system here. Looks like we're coming in at just under 8 inches. Right around 7 3/4, 7/8, I'd say 7 7/8 in that conversation. Blade length of 3 1/4 sharp, probably 3 1/2 to the center of that choil there, somewhere in that conversation. Handle length of 4 1/2, so good size knife. Completely different than the Fat Strip, which we'll get into, I'm sure, many times. Let's get some weights on this and kind of start figuring this one out together. So let's get that zero to put this guy away and get the scale up. Just as if we're having a coffee shop, shooting the breeze, enjoying some blades. 3.9 ounces, ooh. 3.8, 3.9, somewhere in that conversation. And for perspective, let's grab the chonky strip, 4.5. So there you go. That's the fat. And the fit, 3.9 ounces. So it looks like we lost a little bit of weight on the diet over the winter time here. You know, the Fit Strip has been working hard, hitting the gym, keto diet of high protein, and I was unable to cut some weight. So I'm doing this without a spec sheet. So, you know, I always love doing this without a spec sheet because I formulate ideas and opinions that I wouldn't maybe necessarily find if I had a spec sheet, just based on steering the conversation that way. So let's kind of do our first go around on the knife. I know that last time, let's just grab the Fit Strip here, or sorry, Fat Strip, and kind of just right off the hop. Remember, they're kind of sitting funny on the cutting board, but anyway, we can see some striking differences between the two right off the hop in that I believe I was 45 or so minutes or half an hour into the last video on the Fat Strip when I noticed the scales were not the same on both sides of the knife. I'm just going to park this just up here for now. So if you haven't watched the video on the Fat Strip, please do. An absolute beauty of a knife. I think it's very quirky and beefy and just ridiculous all the way around. Really cool. But anyway, I think the video on this one was about an hour, and towards the end it dawned on me where I flipped it around at one point. I'm like, these scales are completely different. So when you look at this, right, you've got the chonky kind of puffed out on the front side, on the back, and then on the lower area by the clip, it's concave behind the clip, and it's opposite on the other side. And it took me a while to notice that, funny enough. And that was one detail that I just go, that was so cool to see during that. So other than that, let's go back to the fit strip, and there's a bunch of comparisons between the blades. But now you look at this one and you go, okay, what are you hiding on me that half an hour from now, assuming I go that long, what are you hiding on me that I'm going to find throughout this experience together that I don't quite see yet? So let's start things off. We'll go on by, I guess, let's look at the scale. It is concave on this side, and concave in a way that it is identical to the same style as on the fat strip on the front portion. If we're looking at that, the front portion being concave, it feels identical. Okay. The milling lines also appear to be the same patterning in terms of width and texture. It is a bronze finish, so it's a little different color. And that includes, I think the hardware is bronzed, if I'm not mistaken, as well. I've got a bright, high Kelvin light on this right now, so it might hide some of the actual colors as if I were to take it outside and get it under the true color. But I believe that hardware is bronze as well. So concave front scale, Sinkevich bits on the back, tiny little guys. I believe they're the same. We've got a triangular front. I don't know the significance of the triangle versus the bullseye or the cross. Maybe someone in the comments knows. I don't, but I love it either way, and I certainly dig that. If we go around the knife, you can see right away, let's put these, are they gonna fit on camera? Let's get some perspective on how much weight this guy has lost. So there you go. 5mm blade stock at the highest point on the right. And I believe it's 3.5mm on this guy. In hand, you notice it right away, okay? Just looking at the image, you should be able to tell it's quite a bit thicker on the fat versus fit. And you should also pick up on the same clip being used. General overall design being identical. And actually, another thing that makes this one so much thinner, now that I'm looking at it with a critical eye, I would put my money on it that the titanium handle scales are thinner as well as the blade stock. Those scales are certainly thinner. They may have the same beveling on this side, but they are much thicker on the fat. Yeah, they are. Has to be. And like I said, I haven't read literature on this, so I'm not too sure. The bronze looks terrific. I think it's, you know me, I like my plain colors, my plain styles. That's always been me and probably always will be me. Bronze, brass, I love it too. It's, a lot of people probably haven't even picked up on the subtleties that this knife is bronze. It's very, very subtle. Just a little kiss of that anodizing, comparatively. On the flip side, we have the same hardware, I believe. Let's flip this guy over and see that. If it wants to, come on, focus. Well, maybe it'll pretend if it's eyeballs. Maybe the camera sensor likes seeing two circles. I believe it's the same hardware. Unless, well, it's definitely a different color. I think it's different. Yeah, it's got to be brass. It's got to be brass or bronzed. I'm getting a little touch of it on there. Clip is identical. We still get that same screw above the clip as well. And then underneath is where there's some magic. It should have, I think, 3 screws, which should anchor in 1, 2, 3. Am I seeing 3? I'm seeing 3. It should anchor in the liner lock or tab lock, apron lock, whatever you want to call it, inside the knife, but totally out of sight, which is so cool. We've got a full-length, essentially full-length back spacer, much like the fat strip. We've got that nice little channel there where that MagnaCut logo shines and centers right in the heart of that backspacer. So cool. We work our way all the way down. It wraps the entire frame of the knife. And then when we rotate under, we've got another centering line and a swollen blade on the tip there. And I haven't looked, but I'm hoping there's some centering lines under here. Oh, it's up front, even better. So if we look underneath here, the centering lines for the grooves, and I'm gonna compare that with the Fat Strip without cutting myself. I believe it had the same lines underneath. Yes, it does. Oh, there's so much cool detail in here. Oh, I'm just such a nerd, and I'm so sorry. This video is, it's gonna be me nerding out over some coolness. So that's pretty darn cool. What else can I see on the inside of here? Well, lots of milling, lots of skeletonization to kind of balance things out, I imagine. Yes, right behind the pivot, we are perfectly balanced. In hand, it does feel a little thinner. And I love how the front handle is the side that's concave here, because when you get your fingers to wrap into it, it kind of holds the knife. You get a secure kind of feel to it. In hand, that's interesting. On the back side, there's that asymmetry that we noticed half an hour in. It's no longer concave, it is convex, so it swells outward to add a little thickness on this side of the scale. So it is completely asymmetric, which is just cool. Absolutely cool. In hand, it wraps nicely and actually correlates well with that kind of overall bevel that surrounds the clip. It's a very nice rounded feel in hand and palm, where the hot spots matter, but you get real nice grip. Almost kind of similar to holding, if you've ever held a Hattie or a magnetic, the Hattie CD magnetic, it's very similar in hand, how that's got a concave front handle as well. So very natural, very nice. It makes it a thinner feel, but has that robustness in hand inside your palm. So cool. In terms of the blade, well, I know this is going to be a conversation that everyone's going to have an opinion on. Well, it's a 3.5 mil blade, and there's no fancy, ultra thick compound grind now on this. So what do we see by comparison? Well, we still have a mirror polished edge on both of them. We still have that same kind of line that goes up here with the little bevel in it. Obviously much less pronounced. And then that compound grind on the top has been kind of converted into just a nice little swedge. Right? So you still have that nice thick feel to it. You still have that same kind of line to the drop cut blade, the same slicing action. It should cut very similarly without that nice bevel on the top. However, you get a little bit more on that kind of satin flats. Actually quite a bit more. So this has just a little spot up there, whereas now this, the Fat Strip has a lot more of that. So I'm going to put this one back. So a lot more of the satin flat. But that compound grind, it's still subtle, but also really well done. I was expecting more of just like a full grind, like a flat. And this is definitely still very complicated to do. In hand, as you kind of go up the nose, I want to show this. It's bowed. I don't know if the camera's going to kind of see that, but it's very bowed on the blade. So you're kind of sitting in the blade versus on the blade, if that makes sense. Hopefully you can kind of see that. There's a good angle of that kind of mirror polished edge too. Pretty cool. But still flat along the top despite that kind of bevel there, that swedge. So it's kind of cool. Still go all the way down, right to the tip, and then you've kind of got this really interesting swell towards the tip. I don't know if the camera's gonna be able to show this, but where the two kind of lines meet, it actually puffs out right in the middle here. And then maybe I can show it this way. I'm probably gonna end up cutting myself. Yeah, you can see a little better there. See how in the middle, it kind of pops out quite nicely to add a little bit of strength to the tip of the blade. Real cool. So what other details can I kind of see on this guy? Well, that apron looks just as nicely done as the last one. Or the tab lock there. Nice and smooth. It's definitely polished on the inside. This would be one of those knives. Buy yourself the Sinkevich tool, the bit tool. And once you open this up, and I can't wait to see the video or the photos of James tends to kind of take apart a lot of these stuff, and it's just like absolute nerdery. If you go into the Shirogorov Facebook group, he usually gets his hands at some point on most of the new models, and he takes them all apart and shows them on the inside. And I could just as easily take this apart right now, but I don't trust myself to do it, whereas he's an expert on these things. And these knives are just gorgeous on the inside with all the little Easter eggs and finish work that you just don't see. You think they're done well on the outside, wait till you open one up. They're just absolute pieces of work. How does it compare to other Shirogorovs? Well, let's grab some size comparisons once this thing finally kind of gets some focusing there. So let's go down the line. Well, we've already done the fat strip. So there's the fat strip again, which I tell you, that's very fat by comparison. I love it. I love the fat strip. And the fat strip has been a love it or hate it kind of reaction from a lot of people. Some people got them, immediately fell in love, much like myself. Others didn't so much. And, you know, maybe, you know, could be taste, could be hand size, could be design, not sure. But this one's certainly a completely different knife. So there's the fat versus fit. We'll do an F95. That is a custom division from, geez, real old. This one actually, it predates the custom division labeling, so they actually are individually numbered. I can't remember exact number, but real old school. Super cool knife, but basically just an F95 on roller bearings. This particular one's been carried quite a bit, but nonetheless, very cool. And just handle size comparison. It's also interesting to see. I found my Stellar and just did a little 360, don't know why. There's a Stellar, full tie, plain Jane Stellar. Nothing too special on that one. M390, but there's a real good size comparison, showing that the strip is actually quite a big knife. Despite the, I think it's 3 1/4 inch blade length or whatever, it's still substantial in hand, much more substantial than like a Neon. There's a Sinkevich Bio Dark, I believe. Yes, this one's a dark, which the cool one on this is just the milling makes it look like a spine, kind of rib cage. And the more light that hits it, the more it looks like it. But you can kind of see the asymmetry with a lot of these little lines, but it's a Sinkevich design. So lots of cool factor. And that same mirrored edge in the Shirogorov world, they just do so well. But this one, like I said, it looks like a rib cage, kind of going behind the pivot all the way down. That's the spinal column and ribs. And then everyone always thinks that the hardware on this is very bulbous and loud, but it's actually like flat. It doesn't stick out at all. So there you go. Super cool. We'll grab a Russian Overkill. There's your RJ Martin. Full tie. I think that one's M398. Or is it S90B? I can't remember. Great knife. Much bigger by comparison than the Fit Strip. We'll grab our Scotty Cook. I'm just coming up with nicknames as I do this for some reason. I don't know why. But there's your Russian Laksa. Russian flipping laksa. And I've done a video on this knife, geez, that must have been late last summer in the fall time or something. And once again, that must have been close to an hour or 45 minutes. Real cool knife. First integral Shirogorov has ever done. And so much to talk about on this. So many little details, one of which I thought was so cool was how they hide how they attach the clip. Yeah, there's a lanyard on there, but if you remove the lanyard, there's some screw holes that you can access the clip internally on an integral, which is just, if you're a nerd, you love that stuff like me. If you're not a knife nerd, then maybe it doesn't matter as much. But I just think that the Laksa has to be one of the coolest knives they've released in the last 5 years. And as such, you have to have one. Harder to find now though. A lot of people are keeping them. So there's your Laksa. We'll grab the Monkey Edge Frag. Quantum as well. If you're into the Quantums, which I think a lot of people should be into the Quantums. Let's do an Astrum. There's your Astrum. And we just did, I just took some photos of these Astrums here. So if we want to, I can even move these down. I've got a couple other Astrums I wouldn't normally do this, but they're beside me. So if we want to see kind of the new variants, we've got a bronze Astrum. Super cool clip, and I think is the backspacer bronze as well? I believe it is. And then the blue Astrum, which is the same thing, just with that touch of blue. Is it going to fit in there? There's your two Astrum new production models. So well done. They just all go well together, and the Astrum has to be one of the most well executed production knives they've ever done. The tolerances on this knife are just ridiculous. Just redonkulous. And then if we want to look at as well that new F95, I just did those as well. So there's a bronze F95. This is the one that is on the site right now. So there you go. To kind of get a look of a different color, a different tone of the bare bronze, which I'm calling it Bear Frag. And who knows if that'll catch on, but Bear Frag looks so cool. But, you know, Bear Reptile scale also works just as well. There you go. And then they have that in the blue, or sorry, the purple as well, which is more of a kind of a royal blue. But F95, by comparison, there you go. And then did we want to do any kind of more production-y style knives? I don't know if we wanted to even kind of go down that road and do some standard stuff like a Para 2. Let's grab that. This is the knife I open a lot of my packages with, so that's why it's always covered in crud. But just for a size comparison, a lot of people know that. And then we can do a large and a small Sebenza. So there's your large. This is an S45 glass blasted Thunderbird gear variant. A little old school compared to the new Magna Cut fancy ones, but nonetheless, very cool. And then I will show you a small Sebenza 31 drop point. There you go. Makes this thing look humongous by comparison, but remember the small Sebenza is not a very big knife. And Shiro, they just tend to have a bigger handle, right? They just tend to fill your palm quite nicely. So I'm gonna put this away and grab that, put that away. And anything else? Do we want to do any quirky ones? This one's kind of quirky. Triaxis. Pretty cool one as well. Similar size-wise, a little smaller, but big handle, short blade, quirky, kind of a puzzle pattern. Cool knife. I think I've done a video on the Midnight a while ago. Really cool. A lot of people were saying that would be a rosy killer, which I don't know about that, but there's your rosy as well. People love seeing this in rosy in a lot of the videos. I never take it out, but it's just, I had a comment about the clip in one of the videos that someone was all excited about ordering one for their own collection, so that's kind of cool, eh? Small world sometimes. Okay, that's enough knives. We got to bring this one home. So let's focus. Let's focus here. I know when you have a knife like this in your hand, it's tough to focus. I'm well aware. It's the story of my life lately. So, where does this stack up? Well, I should say this. When I did the fat strip video, the first thing I picked up on was that they called it fat strip. And I said, that's weird. Like, everyone's always just called it a strip. You know, the strip prototype. They had, I don't know, half a dozen of them that floated around. And it was always just strip. And when they called it fat strip, I remember saying this and digging my heels in saying, that's strange. I wonder if they'll have a different variant of that knife. And then I said, oh, if it's fat, they should have a thin. And you know, they played on words. I don't know if this is the thin or if there's going to be like an ultra thin or a, you know, bulimic strip where it's like a 2.5 mil blade. I don't know. That's me. That's my humor. You know, bulimia is not a joking matter, but a thin strip nonetheless. Is this the thin strip? 3.5 mil? Logic would say, I don't know. To me, fit strip is very normal. It is not thin. Could they thin this up? I don't know how much more they can take out of this. If they, and this is my speculation once again. So fit and fat, or fat and fit, 5 mil versus 3.5 mil. Do they do another? You know, because Sinkevich, I feel like they come in threes, or they have in the past. The series just tends to come in threes. Like, you're not going to do two. You're not going to do a duo. So, you know, speculation. Fat, compound grind, 5 mil magna cut, tie, let's put it right here, tie on the knife. Sorry, tie kind of regular coloring. Asymmetrical kind of scales, asymmetric all over the place, super sexy compound grind, very fat, very different. Like, it's a full feel in your hand in a small knife. Now, we've got a 3.5 mil variant of this with thinner scales, concave front scale, convex rear scale. So what would be next? If, like, let's just say they did a third. And I'm not saying they will. Maybe it's just fit and fat and that's it. You know, like, could they do an anatomical kind of thing again? Fit, fat, you know, what would you even call it? Say you were going to go even thinner. And I don't think they would. I just don't see how you could go thinner with this. Like, it's already very, very thin. I could see doing a 3 mil blade and pinching it in just a little bit more. But I don't know why you'd do that. So maybe a full dress, but then again, now both have been magna cut. Both have had the same blade stonewash kind of done to them, that same texturing. So do they make, you know, do they stick with magna cut? If so, great. I'm trying to remember what they did on those prototyped strip variants back in the day. And I thought it was, the fat strip is basically that, with a compound grind. And a little thicker. So, you know, to me, this, if they were to release this one first, that would have made sense. 3.5 mil blade, that's like an F95 blade thickness, very standard now, very normal, routine. Everybody loves the size, the thickness, the fit in hand. This might have a completely different feel to a lot of the collectors than when they launched the fat. So let's just assume now that we've got two variants of the knife, both with magna cut, and it could be the series. That could be it. Could be one and done, just like that. Or they do a third. You would assume it'd still be magna cut, right? Why wouldn't it be if both are already magna cut?
It'd probably just be changing texturing, changing colors. If they've done a regular and a bronze, I could only assume they would do a blue, because blue is, they love doing blue. And that's found even in the recently released F95 Bears pattern. That was blue or purple, bronze, and tie. And I think from a production standpoint, those are the three colors that they do a really good job on. So maybe, excuse me, so maybe that's the direction. Maybe they do a blue or a dark blue or a denim or a navy or a purple. Maybe that's, I could see them doing a blue. But okay, you do a different color. That to me isn't enough to differentiate it. So what do you do with the grind? Do you make it a flat grind? Or do you do something absolutely different, and like the cami, and just do like a crazy asymmetric grind but keep the handles the same? While you have the grinds here, they are symmetric, but the handles are different. I could see them going that route. That'd be quirky and Sinkevich-y. I could absolutely see that. And remember, I have zero knowledge. This is complete speculation. I feel like on this series, I'm 1 for 1 in guessing, which is typically like less than 5% likelihood. And you know, maybe I should look back on this video 6 months from now and wonder why did I spend 5-10 minutes speculating. But I feel like that's half the fun of this whole process, is having fun knives, guessing what they're doing, because it's a cool time, right? You're in between, there's no literature, it's just cool. It's just cool. You never know what they're gonna do. But I could see them, yeah, maybe doing, you know, if we have 2 different colors, you would expect a third. If you're seeing a MagnaCut blade, I would expect them to stick with MagnaCut but change the grind. If it's 3.5, 5, I don't see them going much thinner than 2.5 mil. 3 mil would probably be plenty thin, but I don't see the point, really, unless the whole point of it is to really make a thin strip. But how thin could you really take this material down? I don't know. Without taking away from the features and the reliability and the multi-row bearings. I didn't even mention this. So this is in fact running on MRBS multi-row bearings, but it is the Sinkevich Mickey Mouse style MRBS. So it's not like the ones on my Monkey Edge Frag. It's not single row bearings. It's not MRBS like you'd find in a Neon or a Quantum or an F95. It's Mickey Mouse style. So they're kind of in triangular, like 2 ears and a nose in a kind of a layout in a circle. So they feel like roller bearings. Sound, oh. You know what, I'm gonna do this because I think this needs to be done, a sound comparison. So I've got a mic down right here to the left. I'm gonna put this right, this is what I use. I'm gonna put it right on here and I'm gonna flick this a few times and I wanna see if we can get a difference in sound between the fat and the fit. So we're going to start with the fit strip and do this a couple times and then move to the fat and see if there's an audible difference, because one of the best experience points of these knives are the audible sounds they make. So here's the fat or the fit. How's that? Oh, that sounds good. Okay, real nice and firm. Now we're going to move to the fat. More deep. A little deeper sound. Back to the fit. Oh, I think this has a better sound. Ping. Okay, well, they both sound phenomenal. There's no winner. I thought this one might sound a little better. It's just a little higher pitch and a little more echoey, I'd say, by comparison. And that's fine. Absolutely fine. Higher pitch, probably because, well, the blade's a little thin. So the other conversation people are going to ask, detent wise, how is the blade swing? You know, everyone lusted over the 5mm thick blade that, you know, is the first time that they had seen since the icebreaker on the fat strip. And real easy to activate, nice and smooth, reliable, consistent. Detent wasn't too crazy. Let's take a look actually at the other one now in terms of the feel. I can hardly tell a difference, honestly. And that's probably, if we're looking at the top here, I'm going to try to get both in frame. The position of that flipper tab hasn't changed, as far as I can tell. Can you guys tell? They look identical. So I can't tell a difference. They feel the same, and you know, they have tuned it ever so slightly different. I'm not sure. I can only assume that a 5mm blade and a 3.5mm blade you would tune differently, just based on kind of that breaking point. But to me in hand, I can't tell a difference, and I think that's a sign of a well-designed, well-made knife. No issues there. So where does this knife go from here? Where does this knife sit in terms of, you know, if I'm a collector, which I am, if I'm a collector, where does this knife sit amongst Sinkevich, you know, and Shirogorov's kind of greatest hits? It's right there. You know, the strip itself is a design I've fallen in love with. I think it's so well done, and it's just something that a lot of people don't necessarily immediately click with, a la the Cami when that came out. It was exact same kind of thing, and they've gone in one direction on price, and that's up. Don't be fooled by the initial buzz when these things when they launched. Some people they'll win the lottery, they'll try to get their hands on one, and then immediately they flip it for table, and they're just trying to recoup it because they want to experience it and pass it on to a patron that wants to get a good deal, and that's totally cool. That's very normal for the Shirogorov world. What I like kind of paying more attention to is, where are we 12 months down the line? Once the knives kind of all settle into their respective collectors' hands who wanted to get them, and say X number are still available, you know, and there's only so many floating around on the market, I'm very curious to know where these will sit. I think this is much more carryable in pocket than the other variant, than the Fat. So I think immediately the guys, you know, the Kevins of the world who quote like small boys, B-O-I. I probably shouldn't say that. That's a little strange to say out loud now that I say it, but you know, the small knives, the Neons, the Camis, the Mini Quantums, the Midi Qs even, they're so, you know, medium, large hand friendly that I can't see why this wouldn't be desirable. Like, it's just such a good size, like very Stellar-esque sized, but with that concave front scale, it just feels so good in hand, and feels thinner than you'd expect just because of that. But on the opposite side, it's rounded off and just feels so comfortable in hand. So more pocketable than the Fat Strip. I'd say the community is kind of divided right now on what they think of this blade, in terms of, oh, it doesn't have this massive compound grind. It's like, well, it still does have that secondary grind on it, so it's just a little hiding in plain sight. It still has the, you know, an increase in satin flats on the blade, which looks terrific. It still has the same gorgeous jimping on it, which I didn't even compare the two. Right? Same jimping, different blades, same comfort level, boy, that milling on that backspacer, or the center line, where that blade kind of kicks in, look how much tighter that is on the 3.5 mil. That's so cool. So it's just a different experience overall. And it's, a lot of people, oh, it's the same knife. No, it's completely different in hand than the Fat. It's completely different. It does not feel like the same knife at all. It's, you know, I'd love to get calipers and measure it digitally, but it's significantly thinner overall, while retaining all the same beautiful qualities. You know, the machined clip underneath, hopefully you can see that there should be a bump somewhere under here that kind of pokes on down, so your jeans lock into this thing real nicely. The hidden hardware, the apron lock, the cool pivot, which I think is bronze based on what I'm looking at versus standard. I don't know if the other one's bronze or not. I'd have to look closer. You know, the centering line on the backspacer, the darkened tie backspacer, the cool, you know, Shirogorov, Sinkevich. I don't know what the triangle signifies. I know, you know, Sinkevich has a lot of these on a lot of different designs, but what does it mean? You know, what is the triangle with the circle versus the cross with the circle? What does it mean? I don't know. You know, the bronze versus the tie versus the who knows what, if anything. The lanyard hole, still there, still machined on the inside. It looks terrific. Very, very well done. Very beautifully milled. Just a solid design. The Easter eggs on the inside of this knife. The thick screw holes that just pop right out of this thing on the inside. Right? The centering line underneath the backspacer. These are all things that haven't changed about the knife, but it just feels so different in hand. They are individually numbered as well. And I can't remember where they numbered this. Was it like on the inside of, was it up here they were numbered? I can't see. I don't have my little light. I usually shine in. I don't know where that went. But it's numbered somewhere, and I'll find it. So I did find it, and this one is numbered on the inside of here. So they are out of 300. Now I don't know if 300 is the series. No one's really talked about that, or if it's 300 of these. So, you know, in the past, I want to say was it the RJ Martins? Was it the RJs that did, I think they put the whole series lot number of 300 on them. I don't know if they ever did 100, 100, 100, or if it was 150, 150, 150, or if it was 900 total. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it does say on this, out of 300. So is it 300 knives, or is it 100, 100, 100? Maybe there is a third series, or maybe it's 150, 150. To me, the 150, 150, if it's out of 300 and the whole things are numbered, that would make more sense. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's just two. Because if it was 100, 100, 100, 100, that's as much as a custom division. But I would have thought they would be making more of the special editions or collaboration pieces than custom divisions. That would just make more sense to me. But who knows? Could be wrong. Could be 300, 300, 300, and all of a sudden you've got some cool, you know, big numbers available, and, you know, we'll see. Maybe people start carrying them. This is all part of the fun with this knife. Learning these knives and playing with them, getting to know them, seeing them at all the cool angles and speculating on where they're going with things and why they did things a certain way. You know, I don't have the answers to this stuff, and that's what makes it so fun to speculate with you guys together during a coffee or wine or beer or whatever. It's just, I love this. I adore this time on camera together. I really, really get to enjoy some cool pieces and get to show you and experience things, and I truly do enjoy every single minute of it. And as I'm looking at this more, there's just more things popping out with the center line on the back here in addition that I didn't notice immediately. Geez. Please also, if you do get one, get that Sinkevich tool. The little try tool to take these apart. Don't try to wedge a Torx bit in there or an Allen key or whatever. People do that all the time, and it just grinds my gears. If I'm Peter Griffin, it grinds my gears. But another exceptionally well done addition to the Sinkevich Shirogorov collaboration series. And I didn't even know, did we? We didn't get any Shiro logo on this, did we? Much like the other, am I blind? Maybe there's something on the inside that I'm missing. I would assume they would do that. But I don't see any external Shirogorov bear, nothing on the blade, neither side, nothing in writing other than on the bottom here for MagnaCut, which is so cool. This needs to go. I love this, how they're doing this now. Give me an F95 with that hidden on the bottom. I'll be in heaven. With the heel logo and the bear. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And just kind of experience. So that's an extra large glove hand. And I fill up the whole thing unless you want to choke forward a little bit, in which case now you can use a lot more of the blade, just like on the Fat. And then it kind of gives you another finger on the back here of room. If you so desire to use it, you could. And I guess that's part of the beauty of this strip. When you hear the word strip, you think box, right? Boxy, rectangular. You can kind of hold it wherever you want, but there's nothing preventing you from choking up onto the blade itself and cutting yourself. So just keep that in mind. But you can certainly hold it a little forward. So I think that's it. I'm not sure if I've hit half an hour or not. I tend to break these clips to slow down the heating of my camera when they're longer videos, so I'm not too sure where we're at. But I've talked about the concave handles, the convex handles on the other side. Same clip, the hardware. I think it's bronzed. I don't know what that triangle means. 3.5 mil, still love the MagnaCut, love the flipper tab location. Love that it's actually quite grippy by comparison to some of the other jimpings that we've seen. I love the dissimilarity as well between the backspacer and the jimping on the blade. Shiro likes to match those. Sinkevich not so much, so he likes to keep that. Another little thing that's at play here, right? Just asymmetry. Just likes to be a little different. And then in terms of other things, you know, the compound blade I think looks great. I do not have any problems with it. It's very cami-esque. You know, I would have loved to have seen a mirror polish on the top here like CKF has been doing. But on the barm, looks so good. But you never, I can't win them all. If I were to pick one between this and the Fat, I couldn't. Because they're just two completely different knives. And I think it'd be hard to pick one. I've picked the Fat one because it's 5 mil and that's just so different and unique comparatively to a lot of the other 3 and 3.5 mils. Now the question is this, let me ask you this. If they came out with, say, Fit, Fat, and a third, and it was, what would you even call it? I guess it would depend what kind of direction they're going with it, but you know, we have seen some knives in the past that they've kind of gone to this, that Elmax Damascus. What's it called? Zladinox 1016 or something? I'd be curious. I wonder if that pops up. With a blue or something? They call it, I don't know, like, I don't even know what they call it. I should have probably just stopped speculating. I get one thing right and all of a sudden I'm the speculating king, eh? I should just stop when I was ahead. Yeah, between the two, I can't really pick one. I really can't. They're two completely different knives. In profile and fit in hand, just in weight, completely different. God, I just can't put it down. It's just so cool. It's just so cool. Well, there is the Fit Strip from Shirogorov and Dmitry Sinkevich. Really cool. I love it. I absolutely do not see a reason to part ways with this. So might keep this one around actually for a little bit until I make a decision. But so cool, and just love that they're starting to make some more additions into this kind of lineup and making higher volumes available. It seems anyway, based on the fact that it says out of 300 on there. I don't know if that's the series or the individual knife, but I'll take it either way. Super sick. And I apologize if this video went long. It's just sometimes I get too excited, and to be quite honest, I love looking at cool knives, and this is definitely one of them. Check out BladeZilla.ca, that's my site. Check out TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and if you're on YouTube, throw a thumbs up on the video and subscribe. Every Monday and Thursday at 7 a.m. Eastern. I'll have a scheduled full-length video of something cool that's either coming to the store or has been in the store or is going to be in the store. So there you go. Appreciate you for the time, guys. I really do. And have yourself a fantastic week. And if you have any questions, leave them below. Otherwise, we will be in touch soon. All right, guys. Have a great week. Peace.